So I did this article last week talking about how the gender divide is happening politically, where men are getting more conservative and women are leaning more liberal. And man, I have been watching the meltdown over the TradCon people over on the Twitter. And you can see how many of these TradCon men are pushing women. They're basically demanding women become more feminist. I have been watching it over on the Twitter, and it has been very, very interesting. So I've already told y'all, I don't really know who Tim Pool is, but he seems like a TradCon man. And this man is really having some big feelings about the Steven Crowder divorce and the whole no fault divorce. And we already know that these Christo fascists do not want women to have access to no fault divorce. They think that women should be held hostage within a marriage. And so they're like, do away with no fault divorces. But I've also seen TradCon men on here say, oh my gosh, I've seen some of the worst things come out of their little Twitter fingers, that stay at home moms are worthless, that stay at home moms don't deserve any money if they divorce. They basically want these women stuck. And if a woman has sacrificed her own earning potential by staying home and rearing children, that is something that has to be compensated on the back end, because why should a woman sacrifice? And that's what these TradCon women should be seeing. Why would you marry somebody and you know on the back end you're going to get absolutely zero? These TradCon men have been very loud with it, like you deserve nothing. You stay there in that marriage and you take it. Otherwise, you get nothing. And I know that traditional, these conservative women have to be sitting there like, why would I get married if this is where you guys are taking this thing? Thankfully, people like this have absolutely no power. Like literally, he has no power to enforce this. He has a microphone and some headphones. He has zero power. But there have been other people that are echoing these things. The Republicans, the Christo fascists are echoing what this man is saying. He just happens to have a network and is loud and is a mouthpiece. And I'm sharing this because, like, literally, I'm sitting up here with some water, just watching the back and forth with the TradCon men and the women. This person, Claudia, said, if Tim's goal is to create more feminists and significantly worsen male female relationships, he's succeeding. And I think that that's it. Like, literally, the feminists and the Democrats just have to let these men keep talking and post their videos. And I'm certainly going to post his video. Tom Aubrey says, women want divorce for no reason. They win 90% of the time. What's the positive for men? And that's not really true, because most of the time it's financial issues or infidelity. But these people want to make it so that, just make it insignificant. Like, she's just walking away because she doesn't like the smell of his socks. It's like, no. This person says, the never married 40-something giving his opinion on something he knows nothing about again. And I really do wonder, it's like, would you take advice from a person that has $3,000 in the bank talking about how to become a millionaire, and just really loud, like, these are the steps that you take, and he is not yet a millionaire? Like, literally, I do not understand why people listen and give their ear to people like this, because if he's single and so like about marriage and divorce, why are people listening to him and he's never been married? Like, why does he have such a big platform? This person, Tommy, says, women who dare to leave masters should be left with nothing. Nothing. They don't see women as human beings. They value absolutely nothing women do. Even when the women are submissive trad wives, men demand. And I have seen where, like, so many just really make it insignificant what stay-at-home moms do. When a stay-at-home mom is literally like 4 or 5 jobs in one: the house cleaner, the organizer, the appointment maker, the child rearer, all of that, all while sometimes recovering from childbirth, while growing the baby. Being a stay-at-home mom is not something to take lightly, but so many people put it into the realm of basically doing nothing. And that just goes to show the undervalued, the way people undervalue moms, the way we're unappreciated at times. And these traditional conservative people, man, like I said, the back and forth, he is pushing women away from marriage, because why would you want to be married to somebody like this? But it also goes to show why they want women younger and younger, because those women don't have the foresight to understand why you need to get your education and get some career experience under your belt. Because if they do leave, and let's not act like these people don't act like they're going to upgrade their wife appliance after a certain age. Let's not act like people are like, okay, it's time to upgrade my wife appliance. Let's not act like that doesn't happen. And these women are just discarded. And if they have no career experience, if they have a big, huge gap in their career experience, they are sometimes left destitute and impoverished. And only about 10% of people actually get alimony. And child support is typically only around $300-400 a month on average. So that means that some people are getting a lot less. So we have to be real about some of these numbers. Women are not just making out in divorce. So let's just keep that in mind. And then I want to point out, I wonder why women vote Democrats. This younger generation, they're on social media. They see how these people, this discourse is going back and forth. And women are going to keep going more and more left. And keep in mind that women voters push elections. Women voters tend to be more active in elections. So if people like this keep being loud and pushing women like this with this no fault divorce, and Republicans have spoken about no fault divorce, so it's not just the podcasters or the podcast bros talking. No, Republicans have talked about this. As far as policy, preachers have talked about this in their pulpit, that no fault divorce needs to change. So it's not something that's just a thought. This is what they want to do. They want to keep women in this. And women are going to be like, you know what? This is the reason why I have to vote this way, so that I am not stuck. And I do want to thank my girl Radfem Future for tagging me in this post, because I said I was going to bring this man Tim Pool, that I do not particularly know, to my platforms. I appreciate it. She's like, yes, I'm excited for you to cover this. More women need to see this, because not everybody is watching the back and forth between the TradCon men and the TradCon women. So here is the video it's a video clip from Tim Pool. He had a very long YouTube video, but Radfem Future clipped it for us, and we have like a 8-minute clip. Thanks, Radfem Future, for doing that for us. Here's the video.
The divorce and legal documents.
I think she's entitled to nothing during these proceedings. And I think the problem is no fault divorce. And I think we're not dealing with a traditional at-fault divorce. We're dealing with irreconcilable differences. And I think the real answer should have been that when problems arose, a judge told them both, STFU, you are in a marriage. It is a sacred covenant. You will not do X, Y, and Z. The problem I have with this is marriage has become dating. It's dating with like strings attached in the financial world after the fact. No. Don't get married if you don't want to get married, okay? If you don't want to get into a position where you have to file for a divorce and hire lawyers for these reasons, then don't get married at all. And so the issue is not so much like in this argument I'm making, it's not to do with Hillary or Stephen specifically. It's about the fact that we live in this world where people get married and then go, you know what? It was a mistake. Let's sever ties. You pay me. Okay, hold on. This whole thing is broken. The whole thing is broken. The other point, so like Lauren Southern responded to me saying, or she responded in general to many people. So what? Hillary gives up her job for Stephen, but now that they're getting a divorce, she has no money. And I'm like, even if she kept her job, she would never have anywhere near as much money as Steven Crowder has. Like, so I don't appreciate this argument that Crowder, as a wealthy man, pays her $25K a month. If Steven Crowder was worth nothing and had no job, we wouldn't be having this argument. So it's not an issue of whether she's entitled to as a woman and give up her job. It's an issue of Steven has money, therefore they think he should pay. So there's an interesting phenomenon here that for some reason has emerged in this particular case where you're seeing a lot of these traditional conservatives actually come out as full-on feminist as soon as it comes to the issue of divorce.
I don't think it's feminist at all. If you want,
but it literally
if
is.
you want to incentivize traditional marriage, like you can't like put one party in a position where they get totally like ripped off in case of a divorce.
You're correct, and
like,
the response is to not allow divorce.
The feminist response is to say that all these women need to like store away money in case of a divorce.
No, it isn't.
Like in order to pay for it. Like
the traditional response to how you fix marriage is divorce is not allowed.
Okay, but
there's rare circumstances where like a guy is threatening to murder and beating his wife and his kids, and infidelity is one of these things. These are people who I don't think those accusations are on the table. They're mostly just angry with each other and yelling at each other, and they're not getting along. That's where a judge comes in and says, you are grown adults. You will behave appropriately. You have children. Those children need functioning parents. You will treat this relationship properly, get therapy. And at the very least, if you don't like being around each other, you will be professional. And you chose this covenant. We now as a society, this is why it is absolutely a feminist position to say we should allow for divorce over irreconcilable differences.
But like, what are you advocating for? For them to like live in the same house when they don't like each other? Like,
yes,
that's crazy.
I think that then don't get married. Don't get married. This is what I'm saying. You don't have to get married. Nobody made them do it. They said, let's get married. And then 10 years later, they're like, I'm not having fun. I quit.
So in your like theory of like how this should work, like, so you should be able to theoretically, using an example very like not related to this at all. Like, you know, let's say you're a media personality and you move out, buy a townhouse, and then you cut your wife off financially. Like, you should be able to do that. There should be no court redress for that. Because that's what happened in this case. So no, as long as you don't get divorced, though.
No, the judge will say, stop. You are married. STFU. You will both be in this house. You will raise your kids. You will stop fighting, and you will get therapy. If you don't want to get married, don't get married.
You just said that you don't trust judges in the way that they handle people with money versus no money, and now you're like the
totally
judge
separate
needs
argument.
to assess whether or not you should live in the same house.
That's completely irrelevant to the point that I'm making. Okay, so let's talk about if you don't want to get married, you don't get married. Instead, the progressive, feminist, and liberal response has been, let's weaken the institution of marriage. And I'm like, whoa, leave marriage as it is. People just don't have to get married. Like, people need to understand. And part of me, I'm kind of glad we're seeing all this, because when you see the shocking reality of divorce, many people realize like, uh-oh, there's a problem here. Maybe I shouldn't get married. Maybe you shouldn't. If you get married and you swear an oath till death do us part, I do not believe you should be allowed to get divorced unless except in extreme circumstances. Like traditionally what it used to be was infidelity, abuse, criminal activity, things like this. With the issue, with the Crowders, yes, I very much believe a family court judge should say, the problem here is two people who don't get along. Be adults, grow up, shut your mouths, do not fight in front of the kids. That's it.
Okay, so let me, because I mean, like that's like an ideal like perception of what should be, but like let's say that meets your parameters for something that you can get divorced over, okay? But you have a traditional
like abuse and stuff.
Yeah. Well, like not this case, but like let's say a theoretical
beating
case.
His wife.
Yeah, something like that. So in that particular case, like let's say one of the people is same situation, makes all the income, the other person gave up their job 10 years ago. Like, should they be able to run up the costs and like when the other person can't afford an attorney, be frozen out of the estate, even though that estate in Texas law is a joint estate?
It's not a singular scenario. In the instance of, say, abuse, a woman shows up to the police covered in blood with teeth missing, and then they go, okay, we're arresting the guy. Now the guy's not working.
But I'm saying if you eventually file for divorce in that kind of situation, like how should the attorneys be paid for?
In a situation of like a woman is being mercilessly beaten.
Yeah, like an abuse situation that meets your criteria for divorce, right?
I think perhaps then yes, the estate itself would be used to fund the proceedings for both sides, like Texas law says.
If you have one person who can't pay or whatever, or like I'm talking about during the proceedings.
The family is a dual income, like they file jointly, they're married or whatever. Then it should be that the divorce lawyers are paid. Now, I think the issue there is you don't really have the same kind of divorce law when you have evidence of clear violations of fault in a divorce. Now, that being said, infidelity is where things do get particularly troubling. And I know a lot of people then say, Tim, the problem here is women will fabricate or men will fabricate. They'll accuse each other of infidelity. And I'm like, yeah, bad people do bad things. How about you don't get married?
Well, I think the reason you got so much pushback is because like the practical reality is that a lot of people on the right are pushing for a more traditional like stay at home like kind of marriage situation. Now I'm getting married, but my fiance is gonna make pretty good money. Like she's currently working on her career and all that. But like, you know, I would expect if I got her to stay at home, if like we were to get divorced, that I wouldn't be able to drown her in legal costs and like, you know, half your states or whatever.
But what if you were poor?
Well, if first of all, if you're poor,
If you were poor.
yeah, same thing. If I didn't have the money to cover it,
She should
and
have to
like
pay for it.
we're married, yeah, from our joint
From the
estate, yeah.
Yeah. My problem is no fault divorce. It's not that Crowder has to pay. It's that it's no fault divorce. Like getting divorced for we're fighting a lot.
But I'm saying this is why you were getting pushback. It's like the misstatement of the 25K, which to be fair, that was put out intentionally, I believe, by Louderwick Crowder to make it seem like it's greedy Hillary. That was their narrative. And then it's the idea that like, yeah, the traditional housewife gets totally screwed under your scenario.
But why is
if
it
there is
unfair?
a divorce?
Why is it unfair to
She initiated the divorce and legal documents.
I think she's entitled to nothing during these proceedings. And I think the problem is